Today I wanted to share with you an answer to a question that came up within my group life sleep coaching program called Sleep Skills for Life. And the reason I wanted to share this answer or this video with you is because it's actually more and more common as a dynamic that I see when people struggle with nighttime wakings, nighttime disturbances or nighttime wakings. Now, a lot of the times over the years, I see certain patterns arise through some of the advice that have been out there, more in the headlines. So I'm sure if you researched on how to either fall back to sleep in the middle of the night or how to prevent nighttime wakings, you would have heard a lot of different advice of what you should do about it. So these are tools, techniques, maybe even getting out of bed, and then returning later on. So there are lots and lots of different pieces of advice when it comes to nighttime wakings and how you even deal with it as and when they happen, or how you actually can prevent them to happen as well. So the part that we're going to talk about today is this idea of tool-based mindset. So that's the simplest and most practical way to describe it. That basically means is as you wake up in the middle of the night, your mind is already searching for what should I do in order to fall back to sleep again in an easy way or in a quick way. So that's what I mean by tool-based mindset. Your mind is telling you all those things about strategizing what actions or what you should and shouldn't be doing. So that's very much that self-talk that you hear in the middle of the night. Now, there will be many different views on this. And what's really important is you never self-diagnose. But if you're not sure whether or not this is applicable to you, what I'm going to share in today's video, then you speak to a professional who's trained in the field. But bear in mind that not everybody works the same way as I do in my practice. So when I use this technique, I combine it with other things as well. So, but it is something that I've seen more and more now, where this tool-based mindset actually leads to some other things that pop up and actually prevent you to be able to improve or overcome your long-term insomnia and sleep problems. Now, before we turn our attention to my answer to this client, I wanted to welcome you back if you're part of my community already, and whether or not that's online or part of my email community. If you're brand new and this is the first video you're watching, then let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Beatrix Schmidt. I'm a sleep coach, a professional speaker, and the creator of the Sleep Skills for Life program, which is where this video part will come from. So within the program, the group coaching program, we actually get together every couple of weeks and have pretty much a Q&A session. And when I work with one-to-one clients, I naturally apply these things through bringing a plan to a client that I'm working with. So if you want to learn more about how I approach my sleep coaching practice and what I do or not do within my client work, you can hit that subscribe button below, hit that little bell as well. And once you watch the video and you like the content, you can hit that like button below later on. That basically just gets you into my community, and you can start seeing some of these things that I continue sharing with you through different channels. Now let's take our attention back to this idea of tool-based mindset. The more and more I see this with a client, often the more and more there are so much either emotions or mindsets attached to it. Now, one of the things is not untrue is when you have certain very heightened emotions in the middle of the night, it is recommended that you get out of bed. But there seems to be a confusion about that. And I talked about this in different videos in the past, but in relation to today's video, I wanted to explain this again. So if a client that I'm working with has an incredible amount of very heightened emotions or very, very extreme things, so this is more sort of extreme anxiousness, maybe even panic attacks. There can be other things like tossing and turning that becomes incredibly frustrating. So we're looking at this very heightened part of that scale. It's not necessarily a bad thing to get out of bed. Now, I work with it in different ways in my practice. So I don't always get the client to get out of bed, but it's a good way to decrease emotions, to decrease some of these incredibly heightened things, and take it out of the bed or a bedroom environment. You don't really want to stay in bed and have, let's say, a nervousness or anxiousness turn into a panic attack, because naturally that creates a bedroom sort of unsafety. You're not going to feel safe in bed if you have these experiences. So that's the only word of warning I would like to say in terms of what I'm going to share and the different situations clients might actually experience. So always work with what's going on for you and never self-diagnose. But if it's very extreme or more complex and you haven't actually figured out what to do about it, then I would really recommend you to seek a actual either a sleep assessment that I offer in my practice, or just having your sleep situation assessed. Because if you already tried a lot of different things and you've changed things but the results don't follow, then often what that means is that something is missing that maybe you're not even noticing or you don't even understand or know about. I'm not saying you're not intelligent, but sleep is way more complex, practical, but complex. And you might not see every single layer. So now that we set this little exception, what I'm going to talk about in this part of the video from that live call is not letting this tool-based mindset actually keep you awake in the middle of the night for longer and longer and longer. A lot of the times when people start applying tools in the middle of the night, they end up doing one thing and then that doesn't maybe deliver results, and then adding something else and then something else and then something else, and then it expands in time. Just because you apply more tools, it doesn't mean that you're helping yourself to get back to relaxation. That means physical, emotional, mental relaxation. Often what I found in my practice is the more tools or techniques you end up using, even if it's using them different nights, different days, the more confusion it creates, the more you're not sure what you should or shouldn't be using. And I'll talk about this idea of strategizing in a minute in that video part. So this tool-based mindset is not always the way forward. And I've seen that in different ways in my practice. So let's turn our attention to my answer to this question or this discussion that came up during the live group sleep coaching session within the Sleep Skills for Life program that I facilitate. It's not about doing a 20-minute meditation, let's say, to help yourself to drift back off. And I'll explain it in a way that's more practical. So, if every single challenge is requiring a 20-minute action, 10-minute, 5-minute, 20-minute action, I don't care what the time frame is. It's still a time frame based action, right? So if I wake up and I apply this exercise, taking 5, 10, 20 minutes, in order to get back to sleep, that the first thought your mind is going to create is, which tool do I have to pull out of my toolbox in order to apply to then fall back to sleep again? The challenge with that one is that you have to be awake enough to even think about, what tool do I pull out of the toolbox? Which means that you're already woken yourself enough to either be nervous about, is it going to work? Which one do I choose? Is it going to work? If it doesn't work, I'm going to strategize what else I'm going to pull out of my toolbox, and then it expands. This happens very quickly
Because if the first thought is what to, it unfolds it so quickly that you don't even notice it, and you're already like way more awake than you wanted to. Naturally, it's not for a bad reason, but it's a tool-based thinking, right? So when we set the foundation, and this is where you start with the falling asleep part. So you already mentioned that you actually took Zopiclone in order to fall asleep. So we already have a bit of a challenge at the beginning of the night. So you weren't falling asleep naturally. That would have carried some level of nervousness into the night already. So we have to first start at the falling asleep part. But if your body and your mind goes back to this basic idea that the night time, and I'll explain this further to you, the nighttime is for rest and relaxation, not letting my mind to problem solve the hell out of every single scenario that is going to come up. Then what we're telling the mind is, mind, your job is not to think about problem solving. Your job is to not do that at all. So we got to train that. Because currently I think what's happening with you is because all the studying and all the learning you've done, and most of you will be very similar, is action-based. I'll apply this in order to get a result, which means as soon as you wake up in the middle of the night, your mind has to be awake enough to decide what you're actually going to do. It has to be. It has to come from the conscious of, to this piece, what puzzle piece I'm applying. So how I work with people is that we undo that and we tell the mind that you have absolutely no role whatsoever in the middle of the night. Your role is to not be conscious, which means that when you wake up, you're not even starting to problem solve because your mind is like, oh, hang on a minute, this is not my place here. My place is in the daytime. Conscious mind. So that requires training first. We all internally, unconsciously, subconsciously know ways of relaxing. We don't need a breathing exercise to know what relaxation is. We know what relaxation is. And we can create it from the subconscious, unconscious, without effort. And if we instruct the mind to say, your job is not to overthink this or problem solve it or look for a tool or an exercise, what you're doing is you're separating yourself from the mind and therefore separating yourself from that behavioral autopilot. It's an autopilot thing, okay? The next stage with that after, and I do explain these things in the videos, is that you can't add pressure to it. So most of the time, the reason a lot of the times people get impatient with this piece is then they put a time frame to it. Oh, if I don't fall asleep in 10 minutes, then I'm going to have to find a tool for it. You don't have to. Relaxation exists without, or can exist without effort, because we know psychologically it's inside of us. So when you have this conversation with the mind, don't argue, don't create this. Yes, but I've done this thing and it hasn't worked and now I have to find something else. That's what happens. Every time a tool doesn't work, you have disappointment. It creates attention, frustration, argument. Mind, you said to me I should do that. I did it. Didn't work. You lied to me. Argument. Or you misled me. But it's not surfacing that way because I, meaning you take the whole lot on you. But it's simply your mind and then you, a separate part. So this idea is a foundation of a lot of different things we do within the program, falling asleep part, the worksheets, everything else. We're separating practically separating.
Now that we've gone through today's video and this conversation I had with the client during the live group sleep coaching session, it's over to you. The first thing to do is establish whether or not you even have a tool-based mindset. Most of the clients I worked with in the past tend to have that because, unfortunately, in the sleep industry, fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of the information is presented in a practice way, so in a tool way. Do this, do that, apply this, apply that. So naturally, that over time tends to build this tool-based mindset of I have to put so much effort in order to get the results of either improving sleep or overcoming your long-term insomnia and sleep problems. But a lot of the times, that is not the only way to achieve that same goal. So when the mind is really trained to leave you alone and leave you peacefully across your night, when you create that separation of where the problem solving or this tool-based mindset is supposed to be in, you create that separation. So that's really what I want you to take away from this video. It's not always about the right tool, the perfect tool, the only tool. It's more a combination of practicalities, physicalities, emotions, being emotionally calm and stable, and also mentalities. So your mind is not taking something out of context and telling you to use tools when actually you might not need to use anything in the middle of the night. So I hope this video has helped you to think about it in a different way and really put this into perspective of where you are at with your long-term insomnia and sleep problems. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button below, hit that little bell as well so I can let you know when I post new videos, and hit that like button if you have enjoyed today's content. Other than that, again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.